been many Disney-based games over the years, so let's take a look at some based off one of their most beloved films. It's not hard to see why Beauty and the Beast is so highly regarded. It has beautiful animation, a great musical score, and a classic fairy tale narrative that's been expanded upon in an interesting way. So it's also not that surprising to see that there's been video games based off of the movie since then. Quite a few of them, in fact. So let's start with something not too intensive with Beauty and the Beast Magical Ballroom for the PC. The premise of the game is that Belle and the other residents of the castle want to throw a grand surprise party for the Beast and need your help to prepare. In other words, you're here to be the unpaid party planner. We'll begin with setting the table for the feast. To do this, you have to click on the correct items so that they fall into the correct order on the place settings. I can't help but think that there's a more efficient way to do this, but who am I to question the logic of talking household objects? Overall, it's a pretty simple game, but also doesn't feel too easy or hand-holdy. I even had a bit of fun with it. Next up is the library. Lumiere and Cogsworth are looking for key parts that are hidden among the books. To find them, you'll be playing Guess Who in order to determine which book is the correct one. You also only get to ask 5 questions per level, so you'll need to ask wisely. I particularly like the variety of characters showcased here, especially since there's quite a few lesser-known ones in the mix. Another easy game, as expected, but a good way to teach kids deduction skills. Now it's time to prepare for the dance. You'll need to ready the music, choose Belle's dress, and plan the choreography. You can also decorate the ballroom to your liking as you watch Belle and the Beast dance. This song isn't bad, but I think it could be better. The last game is basically a coloring book. You color in pictures to your liking, and the game is only marked as complete if you use up all the pages available to you. There's also greeting cards you can print out to use in real life, so that's cute. Finally, it's time to let the Beast in on the surprise. And that's when the game stopped working. Well, you get the gist of it, at least. The games are simple, but fun enough for the targeted age group. It also has good animation, as well as the original voice cast reprising their roles. So not half bad, I say. The next game is Beauty and the Beast, a board game adventure for the Game Boy Color. The premise of the game is that Belle needs to reach the Beast's castle before Gaston does. As you move across the 3 game boards, you'll play mini-games that are determined by which squares you land on. Some of them are easy, such as answering a simple trivia question about the movie. Others are more challenging, like helping Belle avoid obstacles as she rides to the woods on her horse. Do well, and you'll have a bonus add to the dice number you spin on your next turn. Do poorly, it'll be penalized on your next turn instead. If Gaston reaches the end of the board before you do, then the Beast is stuck as a beast forever, and it's game over. Also, Gaston presumably kills the Beast, so that sucks too. The graphics in this are pretty good, and much better looking than the crappy screenshots of the Snow White DBC game. The minigames are quite varied too, although just how varied your current session will be is all based on R&D. One thing that irked me though, is the unfairness factor in single player mode. On the first board, Gaston moves a whole 5 spaces at a time. Then on the second, he moves 6, and on the third, he moves 7. Meanwhile, you're stuck having to roll the dice, and one poorly played minigame can screw you over. Hell, it's entirely possible to pass all of the minigames you land on and still lose because the RNG hates you. I have no idea what they were thinking by not having Gaston at least have to roll the dice as well. I guess no one cheats at video board games like Gaston. If you'd rather play something more fair, there's multiplayer mode, where the players pass the DBC around during their respective turns. Which is neat, since it means that only one person needs to own the handheld in-game in order to play with multiple people. And if you want to challenge yourself, there's the option to play endless mode on some of the minigames in order to obtain a high score. This is another pretty decent game. I don't like the unfairness of single-player mode, but the minigames are fun and diverse. It's too bad that there's no Game Link cable compatibility, but the multiplayer aspect that it does have is pretty convenient. Although now I want a proper Mario Party clone with Disney characters, like some kind of Kingdom Hearts Party video game. Now we're moving on to something more action-based with Beauty and the Beast for the SNES. This is an action platformer where you play as the Beast while you navigate the levels and defeat enemies. In addition to attacking, you also have a roar mechanic that you can charge up. Not only will this temporarily freeze enemies in place, but it also activates certain parts of the level so that you can proceed. The graphics are nice too, and so are the renditions of the film's soundtrack. Also, this game is hard. Really hard. The old Disney action platformers are pretty infamous for their difficulty, and this one is no exception. I know people often point to Souls-like games as the ultimate example of harder than hard gameplay, but at least those games have a save feature. You have no such luck in these older games. Not only that, but there's a time limit as well, which is indicated by the rose in the top left corner. If you run out of continues, then it's back to the very beginning for you. However, unlike the board game I previously talked about, I would call this action platformer unfair. A game being very difficult is quite a bit different than the game outright cheating to make things artificially tough for the player. And that's probably why people like these games, even as kids, despite their intense challenge level. Beauty and the Beast didn't catch on quite as much as Aladdin or The Lion King. But if you like these kinds of games, then you'll probably enjoy this one too. Hopefully you also won't have a video you need to make in a somewhat reasonable amount of time. Let's move on to something a little less stressful with Be Our Guest for DOS. Once again, you're an unpaid party planner here to help throw the ball tonight. And by that, I mean the ball, as in the one where Belle and the Beast have their famous dance. Starting with preparing Belle's dress, we need to help the wardrobe sort some laundry before she gives us the pieces of the dress one at a time. In other words, she has the dress all prepared, but she wants us to do some chores before we're allowed to have it. You know, lady, if we don't get this done, you're all still going to be stuck as furniture. Surely the laundry can wait. Also, I don't think the song Kill the Beast is the most appropriate. It makes things sound way more sinister than they actually are. Next up is baking cakes with Mrs. Potts. To do that, we need to use the cooking tools as a sort of Rube Goldberg machine to bring the eggs into the bowl. This is where I admit that this game took me longer than I probably should have to complete. The urgency just makes me a bit irrationally stressed. Now that that's done, we just ran out of time. Whoops! Yeah, it turns out that there's an indicator for how much time you have left until evening. Guess it's time to start again. Also, I restarted the game on easy mode to speed things up. The next task is a memory matching game where you need to find the matching flowers. Not much else to say, although the feather duster's little woo when you find a matching pair is pretty cute. Woo! Next up is the library, where we need to play a game of Simon Says in order to find some sheet music. And that's all I have to say about that. The last minigame involves helping Lumiere rehearse his dancing. You'll need to guide him to the cherries that appear on the screen while avoiding the other dancers. This game is actually pretty fun, although a bit misplaced, as Lumiere isn't actually seen dancing during this ball. I guess they need to squeeze in the song that this game is named after in somewhere. This is another collection of simple minigames, with nice graphics and catchy renditions of the movie songs. Pretty basic, but probably would have kept me occupied as a kid who liked these kinds of minigame games. The last games I have are a bit of a twofer. Belle's Quest and Roar of the Beast both released at the same time for the Sega Genesis. As you could probably guess, the former stars Belle, while the latter stars the Beast. Speaking of Belle, I know a criticism some people have about her is that she comes off as arrogant for the way she talks about her dull, provincial life. But the villagers all call her a weirdo for being a bookworm and not being obsessed with Gaston, and literally do so right behind her back. One of them is even shown to rudely blow her off when she tries to tell him about a book she's been reading. Maybe if the villagers weren't such judgmental douchebags, Belle would have nicer things to say about them, even if they have differing opinions on what they want out of life. So the way I see it, Turnerbell is fair play. And what do you know, Belle's quest begins with that particular day. There's not much danger here, except for birds of all things. And here I thought songbirds like Disney princesses. After that level though, things start to get more dangerous. The next stage involves Belle navigating her way through the woods to find her father, all while avoiding various hazards. After that, she goes through something similar at the Beast's castle, except it also involves finding keys. We also get a glimpse of Belle's very springy legs as he jumps across balconies. Finally, we skip to the climax of the story, where Belle is riding her horse Philippe to return to the Beast. And that's it. Yeah, this game is really short, even with its more difficult aspects. And unfortunately, the gameplay doesn't make up for it. The adventuring is dull and repetitive, and the bonus stage minigames are not very engaging. The same can be said about the Beast counterpart game. The exit side-scrolling is a bit more interesting, though not by much. The enemies are repetitive in their attacks, and the bosses are actually some of the easiest parts of the game. Their attack patterns are extremely predictable and easy to avoid. I will say, though, that I did find it a bit amusing that you could punch a bear right in the bare necessities during the snow stage. Hey, sometimes you need to make your own fun when it comes to games like this. Again, there is that retro game difficulty involved to a certain extent, but you'll probably get quickly tired of the uninspired gameplay. Both of these games have good graphics and sound, and they function just fine. Unfortunately, actually playing the games just isn't very fun. Which is a shame, because I do like the ideas behind them. Belle has a more puzzle-focused game, while the Beast has a more action-focused one. Sadly, their short lengths combined with their lackluster gameplay makes them both duds. And that's about all for Beauty and the Beast themed games, at least for the Disney version. While I wouldn't call any of them great games, for the most part they provide a nice little distraction for kids. It might just even trick their brains into learning a thing or two. As for me though, I think I'll stick with Kingdom Hearts if I need my Beauty and the Beast gaming get scratched. Thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to click like, and subscribe if you want to see more.